ගුවන් රැස්විහිදෙන ජීවිතේ.
Kidney diseases have plagued villages of Madukare for many years. For 335 families that once relied on impure water, there's some hope. A water purification project by Gammadda. Gammadda, for the people, by the people.
Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1 for the News First, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanis, and let's start off with a look at your headlines for this afternoon. Dinesh Gunawardena was sworn in as Sri Lanka's new Prime Minister. Protesters at the Occupy Golface site dispersed, damages caused to tens, 14 hospitalized and 9 arrested. International community condemns the attack on Occupy Golface site. Trade unions protest in Fort, demanding end to suppression. Fuel issued based on the last digit of the number plate. Now the stories in detail. Security forces in Sri Lanka raided the main anti-government protest camp in the capital early on Friday, arresting protesters and dismantling tents. At around 1:30 this morning, police and army personnel entered the site from the president's office and started dismantling the temporary tents and shelters. Sri Lanka police and Sri Lanka army have taken complete control of the area from the president's office to the agitation site at the Golface and dismantled all temporary shelters. Sri Lanka police said the 9 people were arrested following a joint operation carried out early on Friday morning to remove protesters who were occupying the main entrance to the president's office and the surrounding area. It added that the suspects arrested are between the ages of 26 and 58 and are residents of Kalaniya, Ambilipitiya, Jayala, Ratnapura, Sevanagala, Vallampitiya, Pitigala, Wadwa and Nugegoda. Sri Lanka police said the suspects will be produced to court today. In addition, police scene of crime officers have begun an investigation at the premises and forensics will be called in when need arises, said the statement from Sri Lanka police. It added that the investigations are supervised by an SSP for the Colombo Central Division and security has been tightened at the premises. 14 people who were injured in the raid continue to receive treatment at the Colombo National Hospital. The police spokesperson said that tents located along Baladakshimavata in Golface were also removed.
At around 1:30 this morning, police and army personnel entered the site from the president's office and started dismantling the temporary tents and shelters.
මේක තමයි අපි හැමදාමත් කියපු මර්ධනය තුවක්කු තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ මේ කට්ටිය බැටන් පොල් නෙවෙයි තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම තුවක්කු තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ මේ කට්ටිය අයියලා අදලා වෙඩිදී අය වගේ අපි 13 වෙනිදා පහුවෙද්දිත් ඔය යුනිෆෝම් එකට මාර ආදරයක් තිබ්බා අද ඒක නැති කරගන්න එපා මුළු රටක් බලාගෙන ඉන්නේ ජාත්‍යන්තර නිවුස් හැම එකම අද බලාගෙන ඉන්න ඔයාලා දිහා මූණු වහගෙන හිටියට ඔය ඔක්කොම හොයන්න පුළුවන් මොකද හෙට මේක බාර දෙන්න ඉඳි තමයි ඔයාලා මේ විදිහට හැසිරෙන්න හදන්නේ
මේ යුද්ධයක් දිනව මිනිස්සු රණී වික්‍රමසිංහ කියලා අවුරුදු 45ක් පාච්චවෙච්ච දේශපාලඥයෙක් නිසා බලු වෙන්න එපා. ඔයාලගේ සීනියර් ඔෆිසර් න අපිට සාකච්ඡා මාර්ගයෙන් විසඳ ගන්න පුළුවන්. අපි
ගමට ගහන්න යන්නේ. මේ තමයි මර්ධනේ පටන් ගත්තා.
මොනවද ෆෝන් එකට ගහන්නේ? අයි ගහන්නේ ජර්නලිස්ට්ලට. ෆෝන් එක දාන්න කරන්නේ මොනවද?
හරි ආදල්යක් ගන්නවා ඒගොල්ලෝ. Go. Media. Go. Start. ගහන්න බා මචං. ගහන්න බා. අපේ බඩු දිනනවා. අපේ බඩු ගන්න එතනයි ගහන්න බා. මොකුත් කරේ නෑනේ. ගහන්න බා මොකුත් කරේ නෑනේ. අර ටෙන්ට් වල අපේ බඩු දිනනවා. මොකුත් නෑ අපේ. අපේ ටෙන්ට් වල බඩු දිනනවා. ගහන්න දෙයක් නෑ. ගොඩේන අපේ ටෙන්ට් වල අර ටෙන්ට් ගහන්න බා. BBC.
අපි මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එකේ ඉන්නේ. බේනානේ ගානිය. ඔන්න ගහන විදිය ඔන්න. මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එක රජයෙන් බාර දීලා මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එකේ ඉන්නේ. මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එක රජයෙන් දීලා තියෙනවා. මේ බේනා වයර් රටේ තියෙනවා දැක්ක? කොල්ලොන්ට ගහන්න ඇල තියෙන විදිය බේනානේ. මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එක. මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එක විඩ්‍රෝ වෙන්න. මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එක. මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ ඒරියා එක මුණවන් ඉන්නේ අයියෝ එත්තයි වර කරනවා මේක
දැන් අල්ලගෙන ඇවිල්ලා ටිකක් දැම්ම මේ ජිප් එකට. ආමිකෙන් ඉන්නවා 10000කට වැඩි. මේ දිගට මේ වටාගෙන දිගේම ඉන්නේ ආමිකෙන්. අර යක් කෙරෝල්ටම. අල්ලන්නේ ඔක්කොම ගෙනල්ලා මේ ජිප් එකට දානවා. අර ඔක්කොම ඉවරයි නේද? මේ වීරසොල්ලුත් මගේ දැන් අමාරු කට්ටිය අරන් එනවා ගහලා. නෑ ගහපෙකේ තුවාල බෙහෙත් දානවා මෙතන ගෙනල්ලා ඇම්බියුලන්ස් එකේ. තර ඇම්බියුලන්ස් එකට දාගනි එතකොට.
Sri Lanka Police and Sri Lanka Army have taken complete control of the area from the President's office to the agitation site and Galle Face and dismantle all temporary shelters. Sri Lanka Police said that 9 people were arrested following a joint operation carried out early on Friday morning to remove the protesters who were occupying the main entrance to the President's office and the surrounding area. Officers of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka were also present at the site to record evidence of the inquiry.
These were the views expressed by the protesters at the Occupy Galle Face site this morning. Last night, without any prior notification, a well-organized illegal attack was carried out on vulnerable Theros, differently able people, mothers who were with their babies, and physically challenged youth by police, soldiers and individuals who arrived even without any name tag on themselves. There are differently able people around us now, and they were assaulted.
වචනයක් කතා කරන්න බැරි මිනිස්සුන්ට පහර දුන්නා.
මෙතන විවිධ විදිහ කොටස් ඉන්නවා විවිධයි ඉන්නවා.
There are people from all walks of life here, especially people who are differently abled. They went inside the huts and assaulted them. Not only that, there were venerable Theros engaging in satyagraha. There were families with their kids here. They were also assaulted. Randimal Gamage, Nuwan Bopage and Anuranga and many others have been arrested now. We don't know the counts of those who were arrested.
හමුදාව දහස් ගාණක් ඇවිල්ලා මේ ක්‍රියාවලියට මේ වෙනකොට මැදිහත්.
Meanwhile, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka strongly and unreservedly condemned the use of force and violence last night by the authorities in attacking protesters at Golface in the vicinity of the Presidential Secretariat.
The BASL said it has been informed that at least 2 attorneys at law who sought to intervene in their professional capacity had been assaulted by several personnel. The BASL demands for an immediate halt to the unjustified and disproportionate actions of the armed forces targeting civilians. The BASL demands that President Ranil Wickremesinghe ensure that he and his government respect the rule of law and fundamental rights of the people. The use of armed forces to suppress civilian protests on the very first day in office of the new president is despicable and will have serious consequences on our country's social and economic and political stability. The BSL calls for an immediate inquiry into the incidents and for disciplinary action against all persons involved. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka said that all those involved, including those who gave orders on the same, must be held accountable. US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie J. Chung, said she is deeply concerned about actions taken against protesters at Golface in the middle of the night. The United States urges restraint by authorities and immediate access to medical attention for those injured. British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Sarah Halton, also said she was very concerned about reports from the Golface protest site. She said that the UK had made clear the importance of right to peaceful protest. Canadian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, David McKinnon, also expressed concern over the incidents that took place. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka condemns the brutal and despicable attack on the peaceful protesters at the Golface vicinity by the military in the early morning hours of today. It added that it is a total violation of the fundamental rights of the people by the action of the executive. The HRC advises the state to identify the perpetrators and take appropriate action and ensure such actions by the military or any action within the control of the state to violate the fundamental rights of the people will never occur in the future. In the meantime, the Human Rights Commission will conduct its own investigation to ensure that the rule of law is maintained.
Also, last night's incidents at the Golface Green in Colombo made it to the headlines of several leading international news websites.
The BBC, reporting on the raid carried out at protest site opposite the President's office, published an article titled, quote, "Forces Raid Anti-Government Protest Camp," end quote. According to the report, a BBC video journalist was beaten by the army and one soldier snatched his phone and deleted videos. Al Jazeera reported, quote, "Military raid Sri Lanka protest camps, leaders arrested," end quote. The report says the military in Sri Lanka has taken control of the Presidential Secretariat in the capital after brutally assaulting the protesters. Soldiers also destroyed tents at the adjacent Gotagogama protest site, arrested several protest leaders and cordoned off the area together with about 100 protesters. CNN reported the story with the headline, quote, "Sri Lankan troops tear down protest camp outside the president's office," end quote. The story claims Sri Lanka's police and military troops forcibly removed anti-government protesters camped outside the presidential office in Colombo in a pre-dawn raid on Friday on the order of the country's new president. And the Reuters news agency reported Sri Lankan security forces raided a protest camp occupying government grounds in the main city of Colombo early on Friday and cleared out a section of it, a sign that the country's new president was cracking down a day after his swearing in.
A protest was organized opposite the Fort railway station in Colombo, condemning the attacks on the Occupy Golface site. protest was organized by the trade unions and collective of other organizations. Venerable Dr. Omalpe Sobita Thero, the chief Sanganayaka of Dakshina Lankava of the Ramanya sect, also condemned the events that took place earlier this morning.
The Venerable Thero urged the government to refrain from using force against people's struggle. He said even former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was the main target of the agitators, did not engage in such ruthless acts.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has called for an immediate investigation into all ranked and all non-ranked personnel who were involved in the attacks on unarmed civilians and disabled soldiers by using force. He also called on an immediate investigation on those who gave the order to carry out these attacks. Sajith Premadasa in a statement said that the democratic right of the people of the country to struggle and protest should always be respected. The opposition leader has also emphasized that he will always stand for civilized struggles instead of violence without damaging state property and public property. Sajith Premadasa said that while all the places occupied by the people involved in the struggle were being returned, the security forces stormed in the early hours and carried out this cowardly attack according to orders from above. Meanwhile, opposition MP Lakshman Kiriyala said the attack on the protest site this morning is a clear indication that the new government is following the footsteps of the previous government. He said at the recent party leaders meeting, the president has assured to provide the Vihara Mahadevi Park to the agitators to engage in their struggle for as long as they want. He said the attacks on agitators, lawyers, local and international journalists at a time when it was announced that the occupied area will be returned has gravely damaged the country's image. Moving along, the Janata Vimukti Peramuna expressed the following views at a media briefing today.
This blatant attack must be condemned in front of the entire nation as well as the world. We must make sure this is Ranil Wickremesinghe's first and last attack. Ranil Wickremesinghe became president under the blessings of the Rajapaksas. Who is he trying to protect here? He is not protecting the people. He is protecting the Rajapaksas instead. That is clear because it was not the people who elected him but the Rajapaksas. He is serving those who brought him into this position of power. The Rajapaksas are angry at the people and the people who led the Aragalaya. They are the ones who removed the Rajapaksas from their positions. Therefore, they are motivated to seek revenge from the Aragalaya and to suppress them. And they have given Ranil Wickremesinghe the contract.
Dinesh Gunawardena was sworn in as Sri Lanka's new Prime Minister today in the presence of President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Prime Minister's office in Colombo. The event was attended by Secretary to the President, former ministers and many others. Retired General GDH Kamal Gunaratne has been reappointed as the Secretary of Defence by President Ranil Wickremesinghe with effect from today. Being a decorated soldier, he commanded his troops during the humanitarian operation of the final phase of the Elam War 4. The Ministry of Energy notes a shipment of 40,000 metric tons of petrol is due to arrive in the island, while a shipment of 40,000 metric tons of diesel arrived last night. Fuel issuance based on the last digit of the vehicle registration is taking place today as well.
The Ministry of Energy noted fuel is issued to vehicle registration number ending with number 6, 7, 8 and 9. However, long queues continue to be seen near filling stations across the island. Fuel is issued at the Sipetco filling station in Mavanella today. Meanwhile, fuel is being issued at the filling station in Peradeniya since last night. Fuel was issued to IOC filling station in Vaskadua this morning. Meanwhile, a pilot project is carried out across 6 filling stations in Colombo on issuing fuel using the National Fuel Pass. Fuel will only be issued based on the National Fuel Pass starting from the 25th of this month.
Shifting attention to international news. According to the Turkish president, Russia, Ukraine and Turkey will gather today to sign a deal proposed by the United Nations to free up grain exports from Ukraine's besieged Black Sea ports.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who earlier announced that he was heading to Istanbul, will attend the event along with the Turkish president. A spokesperson to the Turkish president tweeted, quote, "The grain export agreement, critically important for global food security, will be signed in Istanbul tomorrow under the auspices of Turkish President Erdogan and UN Secretary-General Guterres together with Ukrainian and Russian delegations," end quote. Russia and Ukraine are both major global wheat suppliers, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine has sent food prices soaring. Guterres has been working on a plan that would enable Ukraine to export millions of tons of grain stockpiles that have been stuck in Ukraine's Black Sea ports due to the war, a move that could ease a global food crisis. At least 22 million tons of grain are stuck in Ukraine.
In your sports news, St. Thomas College Mount Lavinia were bundled out for 242 runs on day 2 of the 143rd Battle of the Blues Royal Thomaian cricket encounter in Colombo. There is a much more second on that one. From that, we bring to a close this edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. You take care and stay safe.